Hello everyone, today we'll continue with the content from Unit 1, focusing on entrepreneurship. This relates directly to the competency from the syllabus, entrepreneurship, which is assessment objective 2 level piece of content. That means that command terms such as explain, distinguish, comment come up in relation to this piece of content in particular. You'll find that within the case studies, entrepreneurs who are involved in the fictional business will be described, and considering how they fit into the model of entrepreneurship can be a good way to help you in those responses. Let's start off with what is entrepreneurship. Of course, there are many definitions, and in fact, it's a very hot topic at the moment in the modern world. Lots of people who claim to be entrepreneurs want to be entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are seen as highly valued individuals, something to aspire to. We can define the act of entrepreneurship as someone who leverages inputs, develops processes, and manages business operations in the pursuit of profit. This isn't the only definition. It isn't a definitive definition, but it's enough for us to work within the context of business management. There are many traits that we associate with successful entrepreneurs, and they are by and large very positive. Of course, there are negative traits we can associate, but we're focusing mostly on the positive traits, what we're looking for in a successful entrepreneur. Here is a non-exhaustive list of some of the things that you would require in order to be a successful entrepreneur. Not everyone has what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur, and not every entrepreneur has every single desirable trait. But you would need, some of this in order to be successful. You'll notice that a lot of them do line up with the learner profile that you're very familiar with if you're an IB student. Things like being a risk taker. That's probably one of the more important entrepreneurial traits when we consider the risk of starting a new business. But there are things also here like being open-minded. This, you don't know everything and you need to be open to new ideas, being innovative, having some innate leadership ability, being persistent, resilient. Right? All of these and more are entrepreneurial traits. I encourage you to consider some of the most famous and most successful entrepreneurs and think about what traits you would associate with them, and it gives you a good idea of what it takes to be an entrepreneur. Now, entrepreneurs, their main role is taking action, right? They can be small, medium, large-sized businesses, but these are people who are going out into the world and trying to do something, create something. Some of them found new and innovative enterprises, right? We have famous examples of Amazon, PayPal, Facebook, all of them founded on some principle of innovation, changing the way that we do things. Not every entrepreneurial action is based on innovation. It can be iteration, doing the new or next version of something that already exists, or simply taking place in an existing market with a new product offering. Entrepreneurs can also work within established businesses to help them change direction. Being an entrepreneur doesn't automatically mean that you're starting a business. It can be working within one that exists, but to say change the direction of that business or develop a new product, a new service, a new offering. And it's important to note that not every entrepreneur will go out and become a billionaire, even the successful ones. The owner of a successful cafe in your neighborhood, they're an entrepreneur, they're successful. This is not a business that can scale to $1 billion business. That doesn't mean that they're not successful. It doesn't mean that they're not an entrepreneur. So entrepreneurs, one of the key features is they take on financial risk, often personally. Right? They may get investment from angel investors and venture capital, and those investors are also taking a considerable risk because a large number of businesses that are started every year, they fail. The year 2021 and 2022 saw quite a few of what we would consider big unicorn startups fail, collapse, especially in the cryptocurrency space. And this is a risk that both the entrepreneur and investors take on when they, engage in entrepreneurship. One thing that was in the old business management syllabus, which it's not in the new syllabus, but it is still relevant, is a term you may come across when you're reading, say for your IA, or if you choose to do a business extended essay, and that's intrapreneurship. It refers directly to those who have an entrepreneurial mindset or skill set, but are enabled or empowered to work within an existing organization. This is famously done at Google, or it's also done at other tech companies. It's been emulated, where they essentially allocate 20% of every worker's time for those workers to work on their own personal projects, like you might have done if you were an NYP student and did the personal project. How it works at Google, of course, is that person works on an idea that they think is interesting and new, and periodically they're asked to essentially pitch those ideas back to Google. When Google identifies one of those ideas that has promise, they give that person some money, a team, some space, and some time to further develop that idea. This obviously holds a much lower risk to the entrepreneur because the risk of failure is essentially removed. If it fails, it's not their money. The company takes on the risk of that. And, it's one way of engaging in entrepreneurship without the personal risk. The reward is obviously also less in that instance. Although any of those employees who have a new and innovative idea will become wealthy, they won't become billionaires, right? Even if it is a $1 billion idea, because they're working within the structure of Google. Google retains ownership of much of the intellectual property and the work that's done. They do fairly reward those people who come up with the ideas, but it's not the same as if they had pursued the idea outside of that corporate structure. So that's just something to be aware of. Like I said, it's not in the new syllabus, but it's something you may encounter, and it's worth being aware of it. In exam questions, like I mentioned at the beginning, this topic is most likely to arise when considering the intentions or the motivations or even the capabilities of the entrepreneur mentioned within a case study. This is important with those area assessment objectives, with things like compare and contrast or evaluate or justify. Certain decisions might be impacted by the person who is there to enact that decision, right? So although it may seem like a business is ready for growth and growth is the best option, if the entrepreneur involved maybe doesn't want to grow that business, doesn't have the capabilities or the appetite for risk to grow that business, you shouldn't be recommending in your response that they do so. That would go against the information that's presented, right? So considering the people within the case study as entrepreneurs is going to be very important for the analysis in those questions, and ignoring it would not be a good thing. The next video is the last from section 1.1, which is the challenges and opportunities for starting up a business. If you want to catch that video when it's released, hit subscribe, and you can browse the entire catalog of business management videos in the playlist. Have a great day.